To understand the gig economy, one must first understand workers' rights and their inception. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the idea of workers' rights first came to fruition. Many employees worked long hours under poor conditions for minimal pay. There was no system in place for these workers to push for more favorable working conditions. For example, a construction worker could be asked to work a 12-hour shift for far below scale pay in unsanitary and unsafe conditions with no recourse. These maltreated workers finally decided to form unions in order to establish and protect their workers' rights. These unions began to gain traction, and by the end of the 20th century, it would be virtually unheard of to be employed full time without being part of a union. Today, workers' rights are threatened once more. Many workers work part time and semi independently without most of these rights afforded to them by the unions of America. This is called the gig economy. The main benefits of the gig economy for the employee include the ability to take ownership of their work schedule and hours, and the increased negotiation power resulting from the option to choose the most desirable job out of many. Employers also benefit from the gig economy. Rather than employing a full staff at all times, they can hire gig workers on an as needed basis, allowing them to cut overall labor costs. Consumers also benefit through receiving a faster, more reliable service through the gig economy. Although the gig economy has many positive attributes for workers, it ultimately causes workers to lose certain benefits associated with a full time job, including health insurance, job security, and paid leave. This can cause serious economic hardship for workers experiencing a long stretch in between jobs. Most recently, the onset of the coronavirus pandemic has caused this exact problem for many Americans. With social distancing guidelines in place, many gig economy workers have found themselves unable to work. For example, a gig worker in the construction industry has likely been unable to find contracts due to restrictions on construction companies during the pandemic. Although the gig economy is a relatively new concept, some have already tried to regulate it. The largest of these efforts come from California's Assembly Bill 5, which qualifies all gig workers as full employees unless they meet three qualifications. The hiring entity only controls the outcome rather than the logistics of the work. The person performs a job that is distinct from the main line of work of the company, and that the person works outside of the company with other companies. For example, a construction company could not hire independent construction workers without giving them full employee rights. The principle of this bill should certainly be protected. However, the phrasing of this bill has been widely criticized. For example, say an independent construction worker is doing gig work for two different construction companies. Under California's AB 5 law, who would this worker be considered an employee for? Both companies? Neither company? Half for either company? This is something that is never addressed in California's AB 5 law. Though the law is meant to help gig workers, the ambiguity surrounding the law causes complications. Many might wonder which of these two schools of thought should be utilized in our economy. In a laissez-faire gig economy, consumers get what they need quickly and efficiently, but the workers do not get the rights that they deserve. In an economy where a gig worker is considered a worker regardless of circumstances, although workers have powerful rights, there are many resulting inefficiencies for companies and consumers. An ideal gig economy would exist somewhere in between these two schools of thought, an economy that promotes the efficiencies of gig work while also giving gig workers' rights. This brings us to unions, which are exclusively negatively affected by the gig economy. More independent workers means less members for the union and less money to push for workers' rights, resulting in diminished power for the unions. However, it is still possible that unions may be the solution to a well-balanced gig economy. If gig workers began to organize their own unions, it would help to protect their rights by allowing them to push for better treatment, including potential strikes due to underpayment or mistreatment, while remaining independent workers. This seems to be the only reasonable way to keep our gig economy in its current form, while also upholding rights for gig workers. I imagine a future where an employer can hire workers easily for short periods of time and a consumer can receive fast and efficient services from a gig worker. Yet said gig worker would also be paid fair wages and receive healthcare benefits with a little help from their union. The gig economy should be beneficial for all involved.